Let's be honest, nothing boosts confidence quite like great hair. But if you're seeing more strands in the shower, your confidence might not be at its highest. And that's why you need Hers Hair. Hers Hair treatments are made with doctor-trusted prescription ingredients that many other hair products out there just don't have. They come in a variety of options, including oral and topical solutions, so you can find the one that works for you. And they even have options with added hair vitamins and supplements for extra support. Getting started is simple with a quick online hair quiz. Just answer some questions and you will be connected with a provider to discuss your personalized treatment plan. And through Hers, everything is 100% online. So no pharmacy trips, doctor's office visits, or insurance required. Plus, treatments start at just $35 a month. Start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/KKC. That's forhers.com/KKC for your personalized hair loss treatment options. forhers.com/KKC. Individual results may vary. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information.
People love dogs on account of how nice, soft, and fluffy they are. But did you know there's a credit card called Care Credit? And it's like a dog in every single way. Okay, it's nothing like a dog. But you can use it to pay for things like vet care for your dog or dental and vision care for yourself at over 270,000 locations nationwide. Care Credit offers flexible financing for health and wellness for pets and people, which actually makes it better than a dog because dogs don't even have flexible financing. Take that, dogs.
Visit carecredit.com to apply and find a location near you, subject to credit approval.
Welcome back for another episode of Reality Life with KKC, and welcome back for this Saturday series episode. My guest today is Christina Bryan, a renowned DNA sleuth whose work has helped countless people uncover the hidden truths of their genetic past. As public fascination with ancestry and identity continues to grow, thanks in part to hit shows like Who Do You Think You Are and Finding Your Roots, Christina sits at the intersection of science, storytelling, and emotional reckoning. From solving decades-old mysteries to reuniting families separated by adoption, donor conception, or long-held secrets, she brings a rare combination of compassion and forensic skill to every case. In our conversation, we explore not only the deeply personal journeys that people take to find their roots, but also how DNA and genetic genealogy have become powerful tools in solving cold cases, identifying unknown relatives, and also redefining what it means to truly know who you are. Christina, as I mentioned, is a genetic and family investigator. She is an expert at finding lost relatives and often helps adopted or donor-conceived clients identify and connect with their biological families, but also helps individuals conclusively confirm or deny paternity. After experimenting with a consumer DNA test in 2015, she began to study the application of DNA to her own family tree. And it wasn't long before she was using that knowledge and those skill sets to help people find unknown family members and gain a deeper understanding of their ancestry. Her expertise has been relied on by law enforcement, government agencies, and also by the media. She leaves no stone unturned. Her meticulous and highly organized investigation style synthesizes DNA evidence, public records, and electronic research. She also relies upon intuition, curiosity, and just picking up the phone. She has guided hundreds of clients through every step of a thoughtful, deliberate process and understands the necessity of maintaining strict confidentiality and during what can be a uniquely stressful time is a comforting and empathetic presence. Her clients praise her for helping them navigate the emotional challenges that can arise when family members are reunited. And I am so grateful that she is my guest today. Here is my interview with Christina Bryan. Christina, I am so excited to talk to you. I know that so many people have questions about their own family history, and what you do seems like one of the most fun jobs. I'm sure it is not easy. I'm sure it's a very complicated job. You're dealing with different people's emotional well-being, but it's got to be a fun job. So first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you reached out.
So you are originally from the Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your family of origin.
Well, I grew up with my parents not together. My dad lived in California and my mom moved to Oregon. And when she left California to Oregon, I went there. Maybe I was like 6. and stayed until I was 18. And then the second I graduated from high school, I was like, I'm going to California. And my sister was down here. And I just love all of California. I mean, I love Southern California. I'm a huge LA fan. I love San Francisco. It's just my favorite city. And I just love being here. And I never left. So I went to school here and I majored in sociology. And, but I didn't work in sociology, except for I kind of do now, but I worked in finance for a while and then had 3 kids and stopped working and then started doing what I'm doing now.
Did you always find yourself to be a curious person? And were you curious about your own family or more so in other people's families?
I find that knowing your I've always been interested in like family history and who people are and sort of where we come from and how people got here and just the dynamics of how we become who we are from generations ahead of us. And I didn't know my mom's parents too well, but I sort of started looking there because I was like, who were these people? I really didn't know very much about them. And I was very close to my dad's parents and, loved them dearly. And even looking into their history as well. So I always was really into it. And then people started asking me to help them with theirs. I didn't know who my grandfather was. What do you know about him? And so I would do a little, snooping. I mean, it really is snooping. Like it's not, you are really stalking people when you do this. And I have no shame about that. So I really spent a lot of time on my family. And then I did a DNA test because I had heard they were really interesting and you can find your ethnicity, even though I kind of knew my own.
Which is basically mine too, Irish English.
Yeah, Irish English, pretty standard. And I saw when I did the DNA that it matched you with people. I think I thought originally it just told you your ethnicity, but it matched you with people you're related to. And I could see people at the very top, the closest relatives who I knew. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I scrolled down and I was like, I don't know who any of these people are, but then I could look at their family tree and be like, oh, that's really funny because we shared great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents, and I don't know that branch. And then you would look at people or their pictures if they had a picture on there, and you see that you share DNA with them. And you kind of want to know what their story is and what kind of life they're living. And then there were people I didn't know. And I sort of spent some time trying to figure out how I was connected to those people. And then one day, somebody who was adopted was talking to me, and I was talking about the DNA and how cool it was, and it matched you. And he goes, ooh, I'm adopted. I wonder if you could figure out who my biological parents are. And I was like, I guess. I mean, again, at the time, I just was like, I don't know. But I'm like, it must be the same thing. It must match you with biological relatives. And so I had him do DNA. And then I looked at his results and I was, oh my gosh, like I can see who your parents are.
Wow.
This is amazing. And then word kind of spread. People told people who told people, like I wasn't advertising or anything. Like people just were curious about other genetic family members. And then I realized that the DNA actually is not the hard part at all. Like you can, sometimes they're trickier, but figuring it out is easy. And that is the easier part, I should say. The harder part is what do you do with the information that you have when, let's say, somebody is adopted or donor conceived, or maybe they were raised by a single mom and never knew who their father was. And it's really like the most complicated but interesting part is trying to navigate that. That's all my job. 90% of it is navigating people's emotional reactions and feelings and trying to be really quite frank with them and having empathy and understanding. And, it's really every single person. There's not a person, you could give me anybody, and I will tell you that they have a family mystery that they don't know about. Some people do know about it. And everybody's, I have a tree going back to Napoleon or something. I'm like, it's probably got mistakes. Like it just is, that's just the reality of life. And I always encourage people to do DNA because you find more information than you knew. And in a good way. Like I think information is good, knowing things, even if it's something bad, like something crazy. But it's the sort of the knowing and sort of understanding that there are, when you go back generations and generations, it sort of branches off and you don't know who some people are, but you'll look at them or you'll see their ethnicity compared to yours. And you're like, wow, like they're sub-Saharan African. Look at me. How do we relate? Like, how are we connected? And then you can kind of look to see, you're like, wow, like that's how that happened. But I share DNA with you, but I would never have known that had I not done that. So I just, I really like helping people who really have no information.
It almost seems like it's like math and sociology and archaeology, like everything together.
It is everything. And again, sort of the math and science portion is sometimes just like right there. I just really, it's sort of a mix, but again, it's the psychology and the sociology of all of it. I had actually a family mystery that I didn't know I had. And maybe about 7 years ago when I know who my parents are. So every once in a while, I'll look at my DNA to see if there's like new matches that I don't know about or somebody, if the second or third cousin posts photos of something, I'll look at it. And one day I looked at my DNA and like near the top of my matches was the name Anthony Gomes and a little sort of icon thing with this photo in it. And I was like, who the hell's that? Like, okay. So I look and I'm like, well, it says we're first cousins on my mom's side. So we share grandparents and I don't know who this person is. I should know who this person is. And I literally, before I made contact or did anything, I was like, yeah, there's like, I kind of figured out that it was just an unknown birth of somebody at some point that we didn't know about because my family is very open. There's no secrets. Like everybody knows everybody's story. And I just couldn't imagine that there was somebody who had a child and hid them or gave them away. Or I just couldn't imagine it. And so I messaged Anthony. And part of me was like, well, I don't even know if he knows. Like, what if he was adopted and he didn't know? I don't want to be the one to tell him. And so I said, hey, it looks like we're closely related, but I see you don't have a family tree. I'm happy to share mine. And I was very vague. And he messaged back and he said, like, that day, he said, I don't have a family tree because I was adopted. And he told me I was born in 1969 in San Joaquin County, and I was given up for adoption. So I don't really know anything. And I was just like, oh my gosh. He kind of hit the jackpot because he got me, who's somebody who could totally figure it out. And I don't look at these sort of things like family secrets, so-and-so had a child in 1969 and it's a secret. I don't do that stuff. I was like, well, what do you want to know? Like, this is, do you want to know who your biological family is? I don't know if I'm related to you on your mother or father's side, but I know you're related to me on my mom's side. So like, do you want to know more information? He goes, well, I first took this test and he was like me. I just thought it would tell me my ethnicity. I didn't know it would match me with people. And I go, well, it's your lucky day. I'm happy to tell you anything, but let me try to figure out how you're related to me. And at first I thought if he's a first cousin, I was like, well, maybe it's one of my mom's half brothers. But then I was like, no, it kind of matches as like her full brother. And my mom only has one brother. And then when I was looking at his picture, I could see he was half Hispanic, half white. And so I knew it was on his Caucasian side. And I didn't, he still looked like my mother's side. Like I was like, I can see like the cheeks of Grandma Sarah. I could see all that stuff. And so I kind of like was started nosing around with my mom's brother, my Uncle Reed. And I called him and I said, this is the craziest thing. This guy matched me on this DNA test. He has no idea about any of this stuff. And it's on my mom's side. So it's on your side. And I said, I can't figure it out. And I said, do you like know anything about this guy or anything? He goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he would not say that. If he knew, he's a blabbermouth. He would literally be like, oh yeah, well, he didn't know anything. And I said, well, maybe it's a half brother of my mom's. I was just saying that, even though I knew it was kind of him, I was just trying to gauge like his feelings. Mm-hmm. And then he was like, I don't know. He goes, well, unless I have a son I don't know about. And right when he said it, it was sort of my open. I go, you have a son you don't know about. He was like, what? And I go, I'm telling you, you do. And he was like, no. And I go, yeah, like he's half Hispanic. And he goes, no, wait a second. He goes, I'll be honest with you. I'm not really attracted to Hispanic women. It's just not my, I like this and that, whatever. And I go, well, you were at least once, because he is like his biological mother is not white.
There are so many things in life we just never get around to. Taking up that hobby, cleaning out the garage, the little things that don't really make huge differences in our lives. Yet, there's one thing that most of us have probably been neglecting that can have a huge impact on our family's future. It's life insurance. And with SelectQuote, getting covered with the right policy for you is easier and more affordable than you may think. SelectQuote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. If you have high blood pressure, no problem. If you have diabetes, that's fine too. And even if you have heart disease, SelectQuote partners with carriers that can cover those conditions and others. Head to SelectQuote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. SelectQuote, they shop and you save. So get the right life insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/realitylife. Go to SelectQuote.com/realitylife today and get started. That's SelectQuote.com/realitylife. Isn't it so nice to escape to a place that truly feels like yours? I was planning to update my backyard, and there's just something about a beautiful outdoor space that's so satisfying. It's like your own backyard oasis. Wayfarer's got everything you need to level up your outdoor space. They have patio sets and lounge chairs, outdoor bars and hot tubs, fire pits, gazebos, and of course, string lights. It's so easy to have a one-stop where you can make over your entire space with a resort feel without that resort price tag. I looked at patio chairs and lights, and it felt like they had every color and style. And then I placed my order, and it came back so quickly, much faster than I would have expected. So now, here I am, with patio furniture that is so relaxing in my little oasis. No more huge delivery fees for patio furniture. You can get big stuff and more shipped for free. So don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair, and you can enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. And also, maybe she is part Caucasian or...
That's what I thought, but it was like 50-50 for him, so I knew his mother was 100%.
Okay.
And so I said, are you sure? And he goes, called me like a day later. And he goes, now that I think about it, I remember, because he and his friends used to go to the river every Friday night for years in San Joaquin County. And he goes, I remember this one woman, and it could be her. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, of course, right?
Do you think he's thought about this at all?
No, he had no clue.
Wow.
100% no clue. And he said, I met her one time this Friday night, one time. And he goes, I was like, what's her name? And he was like, literally, Christina, I have no idea. It was like 1969. We were probably drunk and high. Like, I have no idea. But he goes, but I do remember meeting her. I'm like, do you remember anything about her? He goes, I literally only remember that she had big boobs. And I'm like, that's it? That's all you can remember? He was like, yeah. He was like, I was a child. I was like, oh my gosh. But he goes, we had sex. And I go, well, she got pregnant. And he goes, what? I go, yeah, she gave the child up for adoption. And he was like, huh. And I said, why don't you take like a more direct DNA test, like a father to son, like parentage one, outside of like Ancestry or 23andMe. So he did. And it showed him as the father. And he was really thrilled.
Oh, good.
And then he was really angry at the woman because she never told him. And he said, why didn't she tell me? And I go, well, I mean, it was a different time then. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she didn't know it was you. And or I was like, maybe it was just shameful, or, there's you have no idea.
That was a totally different time.
Yeah. And I said, that's just sort of what happened back then. It was pre-Roe v. Wade. There weren't really options, or maybe, I said, I really have no idea. And then he was like, I missed out. Like I would have, he goes, well, maybe it was better because I was, a hooligan or whatever. And they ended up, maybe within like 3 or 4 months, my uncle still lives in the Northwest. And Anthony lived, not anymore, but he lived in Houston at the time. And he had a great life. He was raised by his adoptive parents, were wonderful. He was very happy. But he really was interested in his biological family and just knowing the story. And so I ended up having like a get together so that my uncle could come down and Anthony could come up and they could meet. And so it was sort of a joke, but it was kind of a baby shower, 50 years later. And I had like balloons that said like, it's a boy. And my uncle was like, what is this? Like, I was like, I'm just trying to make light of the situation. And it was really, really wonderful. My uncle is very proud of his son. And, they have, it's not like Anthony had a dad that raised him. And my uncle, it took some time for them to sort of get to know each other, but, they have done a really good job of sort of navigating it and, talk a couple times a week. And my uncle has gone to visit them. And after sort of that was settled, we knew who he was. And, he got all the information he could have ever wanted. I said, we have to, find out who do you want to know who your mother is? And you said, yeah. And this part was trickier because her name was like Rose Rodriguez, which there's about 10 million of them.
With a Z on the end or an S on the end?
With an S.
Okay, so that's my husband's last name.
Wow.
Portuguese.
Well, it was interesting because was it an S? I think it was an S. Now I'm trying to remember. I think it was an S. And I ended up finding her. It took me like a year to find her because her name was so common. And she absolutely had zero interest.
Oh, okay.
Like she really was like, no, I have zero interest. But her family knew about him because they knew about the pregnancy. And her mother was still alive and she was like 99. And her sister, was around her age. And they were like, well, we want to know him. And I think she was upset, like, well, I don't, so you can't. And they were like, well, we're all like adults, so we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
And then he went to meet them. And really, when his biological grandmother, like I said, she was like 99, he really felt like she had said like she sort of was holding out because she really wanted him to come back.
Wow.
And he met her and was sort of around. He met her a few times and she had a 100th birthday party and he attended and his biological mother would not because he was there. And the grandmother was like, it's my birthday. You're both invited, but if you don't want to come, you don't want to come. So he flew in from Houston and was able to spend time with her on her birthday. And not long after that, she passed away.
Wow.
So he was very happy that he had got to spend some time with her. And I think her sister and her children are in contact with him and they have a relationship. So that part is good. But his biological mother still has not made any contact with him.
I'm sure that you are witness to a lot of really difficult conversations. And it seems even in this personal story that there is years and years of pain that come with some of these secrets. How do you begin the process of helping someone? Because I would assume you have to be two things. You have to be direct and you have to be empathetic. So you have to say, you're going to open this door and you may not know what's headed your way. However, it doesn't change who you are as a person.
Right. So I made this list and I always go through this list, which I've memorized. And I will say to people, well, how would you feel if, and then I would say like some random scenario, like you found out you had a twin and they kept that twin but gave you away, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or how would you feel if they were not interested? How would you feel if you found out you had siblings and nobody wanted to know you, or the children did, but the parent didn't? I go through this whole thing and randomly I made this really great list and I was interviewed for a magazine and they included this list as sort of informational stuff for people who were thinking about doing this. And not long after that, Dr. Phil used my list on one of his shows. Yeah. And he totally stole it as his own.
Wow.
And in the background, you could see my list, like verbatim, the entire thing. And in a little tiny corner of the screen, bottom right, little tiny thing was my name. But during the whole
segment,
that segment of the show, he said, I always tell people, ask yourself these things. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Don't. I was so pissed.
I would have been furious.
I was like, wait a second. First of all, that's not true. And second of all, you absolutely use this list. And then he completely twisted it around and, made it about people. You shouldn't be doing this. Like you shouldn't be looking for your roots. I was like, and I didn't even know it was happening. I don't watch Dr. Phil. And people kept reaching out to me. I'm like, have you seen this? He's using it. I go, what? And then I looked and I go, oh my God. So then I made a TikTok and I blasted him. I was like, first of all, you totally twisted around what that list was for. It's not for what you said. And second of all, none of these things you ask yourself when you're counseling people out doing this, because you don't do that. Like, you tell people not to look. So it was really weird.
Did he apologize?
No. Actually, his show got not canceled. He retired not long after that happened. And everybody was like, you took down Dr. Phil. I was like, I didn't. But it was just really, it was just really weird. Anyways, so I kind of go through. Basically, I find the person that they're looking for or the information.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can do whatever they want with it. Of course, I'll help them through that. But they could say, okay, now I know. I don't want to make contact. I don't want to do anything. They could sit on it for a while and they could be like, well, I want to reach out right now. So I will help people sort of figure out the best way to approach. And I kind of stalk those people in advance of that so I can understand sort of the dynamics of what they're getting into. People, especially that generation, they all have Facebook.
Yeah.
So, so I like Facebook is like an open book. You can see, people far right, far left, this religion, that religion. And I'm like, this is what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And you can do with it what you will.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see when, like, the best ones are when you can see people and their lifestyle, and they have a lot of friends. They're very active. They're social. They seem like they have a good support system. The parents, that almost always makes it easier because they have people that are supporting them if they are reaching out. I mean, sometimes they're waiting for that person to reach out. So it can be tricky, but it is almost all about that list and going through all the things. Like, if I said to somebody, well, how would you feel if you found out they kept you for 2 years and give you up? And they're like, I'd be pissed. And I'm like, well, you can't be pissed going into this. Like, if you want to make contact, you have to just be okay with just the facts. If you're going to go in just, gangbusters, it could be, it's not going to get you what you want. Like, what is it that you want? And if they are like, well, I really want, I want to call them mom and dad. And I'll go, well, what if they don't want you to?
Right.
And so they have to be open and flexible with whatever they're going to get, because you won't really know until and a lot of people are deceased, so they're not around anymore. And so then you're dealing with the family members of that person. And so you don't really know what will happen at all. So you just have to be open for whatever that is.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews all on the app. Download Thumbtack today.
There's some incredible TV coming out of the UK right now. Brits just do it differently. The accents, the wit, the scenery, the devastating one-liners disguised as compliments. It's all streaming on BritBox. They have the best mysteries, dramas, comedies, and seriously addicting originals like Outrageous, based on the true story of the Mitford sisters. They were kind of like the Kardashians of the 1930s, wealthy, audacious, chaotic, wildly opinionated, and always making headlines. And chances are you've never heard their story. It's stunning. It's jaw-dropping. It's very British. So check out Outrageous. It could be your next favorite. Don't miss Outrageous, streaming now only on BritBox.
And sometimes are the other family relatives a hindrance? I'm assuming there are people who have concerns. Well, if this person comes into our life, they're trying to get access to an inheritance, or they're going to disrupt our aging parents' life.
So one of the things, especially if there's an adoption, in almost every state, and one is a little bit like on the border, because you're legally adopted, you're not legally the child, you're entitled to nothing. And that's actually one of the things that if they reach out by letter, they say, I know that I'm not entitled to anything and I don't want anything. And none of them do. They really are just looking to understand. And I'm like, you have to make that clear, because you will have people just like that who are worried about, well, now I got to, split the trust 4 ways instead of 3. And none of that has ever happened in the years I've been doing this, ever. That's not an issue. But you do sort of have to make that clear from the beginning when you do make contact, if you do make contact, that's not in play.
So someone listening to this, and like we said, there's a mystery in every family. They're thinking, where do I even begin?
Well, it depends on what it is, like the circumstance. So let's say you were adopted, or let's say you did a DNA test and you found out your father's not your father and you want to know who it is, whatever it is. Obviously, you can't go by what people say. You can only go by DNA, because the DNA is the truth and people's memories can be a little foggy. So I recommend people do ancestor DNA. 23andMe is sort of going through a little transition right now. I've never found their platform to be really friendly for what I'm doing. So an ancestry is really amazing. It actually, I'm totally not sponsored by them. I get nothing from them. But I've always said I love that company because they actually have DNA that can be sometimes attached to a family tree. 23andMe doesn't have that. There's other companies too, but I basically tell people do a DNA test and figure out what you want to learn specifically. And you can. I tell people all the time, I have a few cases that are tricky, but they will all be solved. Like you'll figure out what you want to find out.
You've never had a case where you've said, we've exhausted every avenue and I just can't get anything? Because I'm assuming with the amount of people that are doing these DNA tests every day, the opportunity to get answers must increase with every month.
So I definitely, there are some one woman is half Japanese. She never knew who her father was. Well, they're not doing these tests in Japan, right? So it's very difficult to find out who her father is.
Okay.
You're just sort of hoping that somebody in that family is that does it. So that's like, there's one where I was like, there's just no way right now. But as time goes by, you will find it. But it's true. Like sometimes I'll look at somebody's DNA and it's not clear. And then Christmas rolls around and everybody gives people a DNA test for Christmas. And then 2 months after that, their results come in. And so it's sort of like, some people call it sibling season because they're a donor conceived and they're like, wow, I got 3 new brothers this, sibling season in March, after Christmas. And so sometimes you just have to sort of wait. And so I check back frequently for people who have nothing. But sometimes if they have matches that aren't really close, but there's some, I can figure it out. It's trickier. And sometimes it just takes more time. And I'll just tell them, like, just wait a couple months. Like, we'll just circle back and see what we find.
My last question is, after helping so many people uncover the truth about, where they come from, what has this taught you about the power of human connection?
I think that it's interesting because some people really connect. Like I was saying earlier about looking at people that I'm related to that or maybe a different ethnicity or religion, and you wonder how it came to that. It makes me think like, and as some people say, like, we're all related. And we kind of are in a way, because when you sort of filter through generations, you know, if you have somebody who is really racist or something, and they do a DNA test, and they're looking at people they share DNA with who's a different race, it's eye-opening, because you're like, well, we share relatives. So this is how we came to be. And it really, I think, is a really great path for having connection with people who are all the different things. You know, you have people that are different, obviously different race, different religion, different education level, different socioeconomic status, different, geographical location. And it is a tool to learn more about sort of the world and the people around you. And I think knowledge is powerful. And I think it is such a great way to connect with people you would never, ever have known. And sometimes, you'll find people and you can see like they've definitely lived a different life.
Mm-hmm.
But then you sort of connect on the history of how you each came to be in each of your own lives. And I think it's so fascinating. I'm really focused right now on my grandfather, who died at 98 just a few years ago. Everybody in his family lives forever. And he has a sister who I believe is still alive. She could be at like 100 now. And every phone number I try, I really want to call and be like, I just have to, I've never met her in my entire life. She's always lived in Florida. I've always been on the West Coast. And I'm just dying to meet her. And so I'm like, I really need to like go. And so I'm just in the last week been like totally stalking like her children. And I'm texting random phone numbers like, are you Norma Bryan's daughter or granddaughter?
Mm-hmm.
And because I really, when I look at pictures of her, I see my entire family in her eyes.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I kind of want to know the descendants of her in my, in my world, just because I'm just curious. So that's like what I'm doing currently.
So fun.
Trying to find Norma.
Well, how can people reach out to you and how can they follow you?
So my domain is dnasleuth.com. And all of my contact information is out there, Christina Bryan, and people find me. People will find me. They can reach out to me through any of the socials, and I get texts from people and that kind of stuff. So I'm easy to find. Just type in DNA Sleuth.
Where's Norma Bryan so the good people in Florida can look out for her?
So she is around, Pensacola.
I have an uncle that lives in Pensacola.
Well, I have an address. I keep looking for, like, I'm like, if she dies, like, I'm like, there's no obituary, so she has to be holding on.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have like phone numbers. I know she married somebody whose last name is Roberts. And so she might be Norma Roberts now. And she had a few children. And so it just by chance that the numbers and email I've reached out to have not worked. I have like a list to go through, so I could end up hitting it. But I'm going to hop on a plane to
Does she have
Pensacola.
connections to the military?
Well, my grandfather was in the Navy.
Because my uncle in Pensacola was in the Navy. Maybe I can help you.
Ooh. I don't think she herself does. I think maybe actually her first husband who died, maybe he died in World War II. They were there because of that.
Okay.
And his name is escaping me right now. And so, yeah, that's the big I don't know if I have it here. I just ordered a hat with my grandfather's ship on it.
Yeah.
It's like a trucker hat and it says USS Idaho.
Okay.
And that I think it's been decommissioned and all. I'm like, everybody's like, are you in the Navy? I'm like, this is my grandfather's ship.
Yeah, that's because it's
hat.
so present. It's like you're on the hunt for it. Well, I'm going to call my mom and ask her to help with this because she's a little sleuth herself.
She's a little stalker.
Between that and the relative spelled RODRIGUES, like my husband, we'll figure it out.
Awesome. I love that.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
I want to thank my fantastic guest and remind you to click subscribe. Please leave a 5-star review. Join the Facebook group Reality Life with Kate Casey. You can get my What to Watch list every week by going to katecasey.substack.com. Bonus episodes on Apple Podcast and Patreon. And also make sure that you follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram at KatecaseyCA, TikTok, it's Kate Casey, and Twitter, Threads, and Blue Sky at Kate Casey. Check back Monday for an all-new What to Watch episode.
Here's a tip for growing your business. Get the Venture X Business Card from Capital One and start earning unlimited double miles on every purchase. That's right. With unlimited double miles, the more your business spends, the more miles you earn. Plus, the Venture X Business Card has no preset spending limit, so your purchasing power can adapt to meet your business needs. The Venture X Business Card also includes access to over 1,000 airport lounges. Just imagine where the Venture X Business Card from Capital One can take your business. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at CapitalOne.com/VentureXBusiness.